Do you think rideshare drivers should have or even deserve benefits? And what exactly do benefits mean? I suspect it's different things to different people. Let's talk about it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to UberHints. It's a glorious day. I hope you are having a good one as well. And today we are going to talk about benefits for drivers. The reason this is coming up is I recently read a story in the news about a representative in Massachusetts. The guy's name is Andy Vargas, and he wants to propose a bill, or he is proposing a bill, in which rideshare drivers will receive benefits. And on the surface, this sounds great. I am of the mindset that everybody is deserving of something. But can we all come to a common agreement as to exactly what people deserve? I'm going to read a few snippets here. I'm certainly not going to read the whole thing. Then I would love to hear what you have to say and what you think that drivers really deserve, if anything. Now, let's start with two extreme camps before I even get into talking about Representative Vargas. There is one extreme over here, which is the pure, as pure as can be, contractor, right? An independent contractor. It's someone that says, here I am, I will do a job for you, and that's it. You don't have to provide anything at all for me. An example of this might be a plumber or an electrician. You call them up, you say, hey, can you do this job for me? They say, yes, it'll cost X number of dollars. They come in, do the job, you pay them, and they're gone. And for a large part, that is what rideshare drivers do. Then on the other end, you have the fully employed people. They are people that are employed. You know, they get benefits, they get their health insurance, and they get vacation, and they get sick days, and they might even get additional benefits, per diems if they travel, and that sort of thing. Two extremes. Where do you land on this? Well, let's find out where Representative Vargas lands. Rideshare and delivery drivers currently classified as independent contractors would be entitled to full employment benefits. Full employment benefits. That's a lot. That's a vague term based on what we just said, right? If a bill filed in the House by Haverhill Representative Andy X. Vargas wins passage. Vargas testified Monday in support of the bill, which would benefit drivers for such companies as Uber, Lyft, Instacart, and others by requiring employers to provide benefits and protection. What does that mean? Vargas said he worked as a driver in college and often earned less than minimum wage. Let's talk about what's going on here. You know me, I think it's important that we read between the lines. Is this a real legitimate move? Or is this a politician trying to make himself look like he's fighting for the little man, knowing full well this isn't going to happen, but it's going to look great. Now people can say, look what he tried to do for us. I know it sounds cynical, but I'm not saying that's what he's doing. I'm saying, which is he? Is he legitimately believing this will happen? Or does he want to make himself look good because he has future aspirations? You always have to look at that when you look at these extreme types of legislation that's put through. I guarantee you this isn't going to pass, but let's read on. Classifying drivers as independent contractors shifts nearly all the risk and liability onto drivers and allows companies to skirt the basic protections other employers must comply with. The first part of what he said is absolutely true. Shifts all the risk and liability onto drivers because they are independent contractors. The second part, well, I'll leave that up to you. It allows companies to skirt basic protections and other employers comply with. When you call up a plumber to come to your house, are you his employer? Should you be paying unemployment for him? Should you be chipping a little bit into, his 401k? Should you pay for him to take a vacation for a little bit because you took a little of his time? I mean, that's what an independent contractor is. To say that it skirts basic protections is not really true. because drivers have agreed to operate as independent contractors. A lot of drivers love it. Other drivers, not so much. They might prefer to be employed. There's no reason that multi-billion-dollar corporations should get to carve themselves out and create their own set of rules. Okay, I'm split on that one, 50-50. He's right, they shouldn't be able to do that, and they have. They have skirted the issues many, many times. They go ahead and do what they want. I don't know if hiring independent contractors is doing that, however. But yeah, they tend to be a little deceitful. It's a worker rights issue of our times. Okay, that might be stretching it a bit far. Vargas filed the bill in partnership with Massachusetts AFL-CIO and Senator Lydia Edwards of East Boston. He joined Edward, AFL-CIO's President Chrissy Lynch, and a former rideshare driver to testify in support of the bill in front of Joint Committee on Financial Services. So, I think the AFL-CIO doesn't have ulterior motives in this one. Membership equals money, right? Now, don't get me wrong. You're talking to a guy who was a member of a union for 17 years. But I always look at what's in it for every person that is putting this forward. And then we can back up and say, okay, this is fair and this isn't. What's in it for a couple of politicians? What's in it for union leaders? You have to be fair and ask yourself that. Vargas's bill, so let's talk about what it will do. It will affirm that drivers for these types of companies are employees under the law. Oh, now you're giving up your independence. If you're an employee, now the company's your boss. And they can tell you what to do. Now, they're trying to do that anyway, right? They're trying to do that by creating situations and circumstances. They do it by saying you got to take, 3 rides in a row or whatever in order to meet a certain bonus, or you got to work certain hours, or you have to pick up accept a certain number of rides without decline. So in many ways, they try to force our hand anyway. So is it beneficial if we just throw in the towel and say, the heck with it, I might as well be an employee? Or are we going to defend, scratching and kicking and biting and yelling and screaming our right to be independent contractors? Or do we land somewhere in the middle? Ensuring they receive the full slate of labor protections and other employees receive. See, he's being deceitful because he keeps referring to them as employees, and they are not employees. The bill also expands protections by ensuring drivers are compensated for all working time. That part of it I love. That is one of the worst things that Uber and Lyft do, is they call that engaged time, right? They only want to, when they figure out how much money you're making, they're getting $18 an hour, they're getting $23 an hour based on engaged time. That is the time that you actually accept a ride until you drop off the passenger. There's a lot of other stuff going on in our workday. We've discussed this ad nauseum in the past, but always keep that in mind. So on that front, I can see Andy X's point. The bill mandates data collection to increase transparency and allows municipalities to mitigate issues associated with these companies, such as, we just hit a problem such as what? Smog and traffic congestion. Yikes. This is opening Pandora's box, because every single company that uses our roadways could get sucked into that. And if you're trying to penalize, if you're trying to punish, whatever you're trying to do, and you're trying to focus just on rideshare drivers, think of the beer companies. How many trucks are out going from store to store, bar to bar? Think about the aforementioned plumbers or electricians who have to drive from place to place. That is what we're really doing now. If we talk about forcing them to mitigate issues associated with these companies, just because they drive and put vehicles on the road. Just about every industry, even your healthcare and hospitals. They have to transport. Uber and Lyft are currently being sued by the Attorney General's office for misclassifying the drivers as independent contractors. So they're really fighting for drivers to be employees. Remember, if you're an employee, you are at the beck and call of your employer. They can tell you what hours you have to work. Is that what you want? You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Vargas' office said the bill comes off the heels, wouldn't be on the heels, off the heels, on the heels, I don't know where the heels are, of the New York City Attorney General's announcing that Uber and Lyft must pay $328 million as part of a settlement in response to a wage theft lawsuit. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. So they're going to go on talking about that money that they owe, and that wraps up the story. But we really have to think about this. Is this something we want? It's probably not going to happen, at least not the way it's happening right now, because if they we could be cutting our own throat, right? Because in order to pay benefits and insurance and this, that, and the other thing, the only way they can do that is by increasing costs. When you increase costs, you have the potential at some point, there's going to be a point where people are going to say, this isn't worth it to me. I'll call a cab. I'll buy a car. I'll do something else. So you cannot charge people forever and expect that, they just love us so much that anything we do, so far, this business, this industry is getting to be an industry that despises their customer. Drivers despise delivery drivers. They hate their customers. They blame the customers for not tipping enough, when really it's a company that doesn't pay them enough. The companies despise the customer. They look at the customer as the cash cow. Well, the customer will make it up. Legislators despise the customer. Everybody despises the customer. Without the customer, we don't have a company. And that's a risk in this. Now, do I feel there's a medium somewhere? Yeah, I really do. And some of that comes in just having a fairer rate of pay. I always say the split. Whether it's 20, 80, 75, 25, that split with the larger chunk going to the driver is probably the fairest. I don't know if we're going to come back to that. Another option, allow them to pay all the insurance, 100% of insurance, at least liability. Liability is a massive cost. If we want to, absorb collision, that type of thing, that's something else. But liability insurance, I think, is huge if they could, cover that. If they could do those two things, I think life would be Jim Dandy, because then the harder workers would make more money and we wouldn't have all of these problems. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. As always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. I love hearing from you. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Get this channel back into monetization, because I might like making a little bit of money too, right? And we will see you next time. Tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday evenings for our live stream. I'm Mark. This is UberHints.